welcome. Uh, I am safely back here in the Airbnb in Mobile, Alabama. Um what a game! My impression, this being my first Senior Bowl, and my impression of the week was that it was good practices, fun to watch, and everybody had their time to shine, whether it was with a certain aspect of their game or um, with having some hardships, coming off looking bad, and then eventually kind of overcoming that and redeeming themselves. There was a lot of that. One of the things that I guess I realize now after the fact, and what going forward for next year, what I will be looking for is some of the standouts to me were guys that they never let up. There was no period from the first session practice until the game. Everything they did was pretty much on point, and there were only a handful of players that did that. The American squad, I mean, it's basically just two teams split up by number of players. There's no stake in the game for anybody, but the American team wound up with the most points. They had a nice game-winning drive, let time run out, and Seth Hennigan hit Jack Besh on a little crossing route, and he got into the end zone. It was a very nice play, and Jack Besh, who the NFL Network made sure that they hammered this story home at least a few times. Lost his brother a month ago in the New Orleans terror attack, and all of the players were wearing his brother's number 7 on their helmets. Besh was wearing the jersey number 7 in honor of his brother, and that was all great. But what was really remarkable was the performance that Jack Besh put together over the course of the week. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. Started out as a tight end at LSU, and finished as a wide receiver at TCU. He was super humble and hyped when I got to interview him. That interview is over on Profiler now on Twitter. And he had a lot of really good things to say about the camaraderie at TCU, and shouted out he was one of the few players that was shouting out teammates from the guys that I interviewed. I had to ask Jackson Dart about teammates. But other than that, everybody else was pretty much answering questions on their own. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel also were prompted to talk about teammates, but they were very favorable about Rocco Becht. So Jack Besh wins the MVP. He had 6 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown to win it. I went back through and I was looking at some of the former Senior Bowl MVPs, and it's kind of a mixed bag. So you have Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener are the last two, and then Perrion Winfrey, Kellen Mond, Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, Kyle Lauletta, Davis Webb from the University of California Golden Bears. So some names start to kind of pop out there, like Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Amir Abdullah, EJ Manuel, Pat White, going way back into the 2000s. Pat White, Sonoris Moss, Charlie Fry, Phillip Rivers, Larry Johnson, and LaDainian Tomlinson, Antoine Randall L. So there's kind of a mixed bag of stars, but all those names. So kudos, Jack Besh. Get out there and I mean, I'm pretty confident that he moved himself into a day 2 spot in the draft. He looked good all week. He's a dog. I mean, that was the biggest takeaway, was like he fights to earn the ball, and that was nice to see. Some of the other takeaways, I thought Jackson Dart played pretty well. There was a lot of bad offensive line play, and he used his feet a lot. So I think that kind of showcases part of his game. And he also threw a couple dimes. Like he hit Besh down. Was it Besh? He hit somebody down the field. The good guys won, Jamie. He threw a nice dart. And I think it was a 43-yard pass, something like that. Or maybe that was somebody else. I don't know. Anyway, I thought he looked good with his arm, and he looked good with his decision-making with his legs. He stayed in the pocket, but not too long. I saw Jalen Milroe stay in the pocket too long. I also saw him leave the pocket too early. Jackson Dart seems to have a good idea of when to change the pocket, when to shift the pocket, when to move within it, and when to leave it. And all of that does is buy time for him to make his reads and find an open man. So I think that's going to be a skill, a quality that translates at the next level. Milroe is he at this point, I think he's a second rounder that has a lot to work on with his arm. It's obvious, like he's got the rushing ability. He is, I want to say, identical to Justin Fields in the body, in the build department. And we saw, we've seen what Jalen Hurts can do, and we saw Justin Fields have top 10 finishes. If he doesn't improve his arm skill, he is not going to be a winning quarterback in the NFL, and he's not going to be very long for the league. Justin Fields is not necessarily done. He's not cooked yet. He still has an opportunity to show that he has made improvements. But I mean, a few years ago in his rookie season or second season, in terms of Football Outsiders DVOA, he was 34th in the league. That's behind backups. It was worse than Zach Wilson. And that season, he was a top 10 in fantasy. So for real football, Jalen Milroe ain't it yet. For fantasy, if he gets a starting job, draft him. And kind of similar to Bo Nix coming out last year. Bo Nix wound up in the top 10 as a rookie. But he was better with his arm, although his depth of target is not what you want to see. Bo Nix has basically turned himself into Derek Carr that can rush for 450 yards in a season. On the running back side, Ollie Gordon looked really good. A lot of guys got reps today that looked good. Jarquez Hunter looked good. And they kind of what they did on the field looks about where they're going to be seen come draft week. So Ollie Gordon is likely going to be out of this Senior Bowl group, likely going to be the number one running back off the board. Devin Neal is going to be second. RJ Harvey and excuse me, Jarquez Hunter. Dang. RJ Harvey and Jarquez Hunter played themselves up a little bit. Bashal Tutin, he's a lesser known guy. He's going to wow some people at the combine with his speed. And he does have some receiving ability. One of the things that I talked to a person scouting, not necessarily a scout, I don't think, he's an analyst who had spoken to Tutin's agent, and Tutin has been playing hurt. So he was only about 80%. I talked about that earlier in the week. He didn't look like he was maxing effort on his reps in practice, but it turned out that there was a reason for that. The biggest disappointment of the week was so let me do some winners at the positions. No, give me a minute on that. Okay, so I wanted to talk about Seth Hennigan because I was talking about the way the game kind of played out over the course of the week with some guys playing terribly and redeeming themselves, whatever. And Seth Hennigan is the poster boy for that. Consistently during the practice sessions, he was not able to make throws. He was completely inaccurate. It looked like he was totally lost in the pocket. Terrible. And so for the first 3 days of the week after the practices, I was like, this guy does not have a future in the NFL. And then he totally redeemed himself. He came out in that final drive and was just throwing dot after dot. Granted, it's a zone / prevent style defense that wasn't being aggressive in an all-star game in a casual setting. But still, when it came down to it, he was working on his skill set throughout the course of the week's practices. And when it came down to it, he performed. And they marched down the field systematically, taking a couple minutes off the clock. I think 2:06, I think, is when they started the drive. And he just connected after connected after connected until finally he hits Besh, who falls into the end zone with time running out for the exciting game-winning score. It was a very clutch moment. And in other weeks, or if it had been another receiver, Seth Hennigan would have joined the ranks of Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler and been the MVP of the Senior Bowl, which would have been funny because that the last two MVPs of the Senior Bowl have been drafted by the New Orleans Saints. So maybe that's where Jack Besh goes. But it would have been funny to watch Seth Hennigan win the MVP and then get drafted by the Saints and have it be 3 in a row. None of whom are NFL level quarterbacks. Okay, so everybody's doing winners and losers. I hate doing the losers part because it's the Senior Bowl. I mean, how important is it? Basically, this exercise, the Senior Bowl, it gives us some insight into guys that we haven't seen before and some of their skill sets, and it also gives them an opportunity to kind of start the learning process at the NFL level, if that's not something that they're in an NFL style system in college. It does definitively showcase some of the negative traits of some of the guys. And so I guess you can say that would drop somebody into the loser category. On the other hand, to call somebody a winner, you just saw me read off the names of the former MVPs, and some of them, the fact that they played well in the Senior Bowl or practiced well during the week does not necessarily mean that they're going to be successful later on, or be stars anyway, because most of them are going to be successful, or they wouldn't be here. So the winners, basically guys that I thought helped their draft stock the most. Jalen Milroe looked like somebody is going to take a chance on him as a running quarterback. He wasn't projected to be drafted very high. Most of the consensus is that he should have gone back to school, but he's taking a chance on himself. I thought Jalen Noel won the narrative. The analysts around have all put him on their winners list. In the game, he did have a drop in the end zone, which probably should have been caught. It hit his hands. He could have been maybe distracted or blocked by the defender that was there, but it hit him in the hands, and it was a touchdown if he squeezes it. It was the only thing that I saw from Jalen Noel that was less than stellar all week long. A1 is in the house. Yeah, Besh, that was fantastic. I got a chance to talk to him, and he was very humble and nice, and it was just it's a great story, just such a great story. So Jalen Noel won the narrative, and also they had the positional MVPs that were voted on by their team's practice opposition. So the defensive backs on the national side, I think that's the one that Noel's on. Maybe he's on the American. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to what team they were on, but the defensive backs that went against Noel's group all week named Noel the MVP. Jaden Higgins caught a touchdown that was on an RB pass And he did he did exactly what he has been doing all week. He did what he needed to do to win, and it was a badly thrown ball because it was thrown by a running back, so it was kind of short. He turned, he bodied up the defensive back and fell into the end, and fell as he was making the catch. It was exactly how you want somebody to play a ball that's short, because it's very easy for a defensive back with positioning to get in front of somebody on a short ball. And he boxed him out. 6'3", 215 pounds. He's a big guy, and he's going to be able to do that. And I am shocked that more people are not talking about the week that Jaden Higgins had. I said on another show, I was watching him win everywhere on the field, whether it was the boundary, on crossers, outbreaking routes, slants, in the flat. He was putting DBs on their backs. He was outrunning DBs. That's what he did on that touchdown. He torched his cornerback, his defender. He got past him. So I'm shocked. The Jack Besh is the story. Jalen Knoll is the story. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here going, what am I missing? I was watching Jaden Higgins, and nobody's talking about him. Ollie Gordon is the consensus best RB in this class, or in this group of Senior Bowl guys. Devin Neal comes in next, but Jarquez Hunter and RJ Harvey, they have ascended. The kid from Delaware, I'm totally blanking on his name. He was kind of like a lot of people were really high on him, but he's not the best FCS running back in this draft. That's Lan Larison from UC Davis. Woody Marks didn't play very well. A lot of people thought that he practiced well, and then when it came to game time, he didn't practice very well. Trevor Etienne, he was a winner. And then there were a lot of guys basically what we're looking for is guys to produce in fantasy at the skill positions. And there were some guys on defense that absolutely played lights out, and as well as the North Dakota guard center guy that I was able to interview. He basically rose his draft stock up pretty good. And there were some defensive ends that got in and got sacks. The defensive back play wasn't great, especially in practice. And then Elijah Arroyo won the tight end position for the week. So Jackson Dart, the overall winner at the quarterback position. Jalen Knoll probably in the narrative the overall winner, but I thought that Jaden Higgins played the best. And then Jack Besh, he's going to be on everybody's lips up until the combine and the draft. And then at tight end, Elijah Arroyo. So those are my big winners. Big losers, Seth Hennigan, up until that drive, and maybe he's a winner. And then I said a couple days ago that some of the winners are the ones who didn't lose. Mason Taylor, he played pretty well. He showed his ability to block and also athleticism in the red zone. And I think both of those are skills that he's gonna take with him to the next level. Although he didn't have the buzz that Harold Fannin Jr. did, and he also nobody had the buzz that Arroyo did until today when Jack Besh won the MVP. Allwine put Mason Taylor as his best Senior Bowl tight end. I wouldn't be surprised. Allwine liked Mason Taylor a lot. And the time that I spent with Jason, Harold Fannin Jr. did nothing. So he did almost catch a touchdown today. It looked like if they had gone to replay and really dug, his heel was not out of bounds and he got the ball over the pylon. Still, it turned into a touchdown and 2-point conversion. It was a nice sequence of events. I forgot to talk about the Canuck cannon, Taylor Elgersma. I thought he won. He is a winner. He reminded me a lot of Aiden O'Connell. And I know that Aiden O'Connell doesn't have like a great reputation or anything, but I watch a lot of him and he's very poised in the pocket. He looks unflappable. Playing baseball my entire life, one of the things that was taught to me early was when you make a bad play, move on. You have to have a very short memory. And you kind of have to do that at quarterback as well. If you make a bad throw, on to the next play. If you get sacked, on to the next play. When bad things happen, on to the next play. And Elgersma, I mean, he just looked, that was his aura for the whole week. If he made a bad pass, he was on the next rep making an improvement. He threw a nice ball today. He played himself onto somebody's roster, whether he's a UDFA or a 6th or 7th round pick. He's going to stick around the game for a couple of years, and if opportunity comes knocking, he'll be there. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. I got to drive to New Orleans tomorrow for the Super Bowl. I will be pushing content all week for you guys. I'll be down there with a crew. Anand is going to be there, Jason Allwine and Brittany. So the four of us are going to be down there representing Player Profiler, and we're where the content's at this week. So be following Profiler Now Plus on Twitter, and play Fast Draft.
Oh, I see all this mock draft information out there. Oh, this mock, that mock. Hey, what about a real actual fantasy game? The Flex 4 game on Fast Draft, draftfaster.com, is open. You draft 6 running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. The top 4 enter your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's that simple. Drafts take 5 minutes. There's a $50,000 prize pool. It's $15,000 to first. It's just a $5 entry. And the best part, no rake. No rake whatsoever on Fast Draft, the first 2025 best ball contest to open in the world is ready for you to draft up to 150 teams. Draftfaster.com, draftfaster.com. Start playing best ball for real.
Draft faster at fastdraft.com. You like drafting fast? Fast Draft is where you draft faster. And use promo code BOOTH, BOOTH. All right, so regularly scheduled shows as much as I can all week. Tuesdays, Dynasty Stock Market, usually at 1 p.m. Central. I'm going to try and do that. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Friday, I should be able to do Player Profiler Today Friday. And I will see you all next time from New Orleans. Have a great week, you guys. Super Bowl's coming. And then we get the combine, free agency, and the draft. Let's go. This is my favorite time of the year. I almost like this time of year more than I like the games.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.